Everyone, I am going to play the Trump-Zelensky press conference and then call it a night. So let's go ahead and get started. For those of you who are watching, please do me a huge favor. Become a free member of our Substack. Let's make sure there we go. It's at www.dennishendrickson.com. You can join for free. And that's basically our home base where we have all of our articles and links and things like that you can go to and get great information there. And also we have a great new sponsor, Goldco. And lots going on with gold right now. I did a story yesterday about gold. So I think it's definitely a good investment, something to take a look at. I'm definitely putting as much as I can in gold and Bitcoin. So check out DennisLovesGold.com for more information. It's completely free. And you can learn about gold, how you can actually take some of your 401k and transfer it into physical gold. And then also, if you want to learn more about Bitcoin and buy Bitcoin, our other sponsor is Coinbase, where you can download the app for free, learn about trading Bitcoin, and buy fractional Bitcoin. And that website is DennisLovesBitcoin.com. So getting started here, some Gazans have been arriving at the airport. Laura Loomer, say what you will about her, has been breaking a story about Gazans arriving in the United States. And then all of a sudden, now that people are talking about it, the Department of State is actually looking into it to figure out what's going on. It is sort of interesting on how this is being played out and why this is happening. But she said, following the release of my report yesterday exposing flights of Gazans arriving at airports all across the U.S., the U.S. State Department has just announced that all visitor visas for individuals from Gaza are being stopped, while the U.S. State Department conducts a full deal here. Full and thorough review of the process and procedures used to issue a small number of temporary medical humanitarian visas in recent days. This is fantastic news, according to her. Thank you, Secretary Rubio, for your prompt response to this invasion of our country by NGOs. So it's NGOs trying to bring in as many people as they possibly can. So really, regardless of who they are, it's these NGOs that are making money off of the humanitarian crisis. Okay, so let's play the Trump and Ukraine, or Zelensky meeting, and their discussion with the press.
Between us.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to have the president of Ukraine with us. We've had a lot of good discussions, a lot of good talks. And I think progress is being made, very, very substantial progress in many ways. We had a good meeting, as you know, just a short while ago with the president of Russia. And I think there's a possibility that something could come out of it, and today's meeting is very important. We have, I guess, the seven very powerful leaders from Europe, and we're going to be meeting with them right after this meeting, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. If I can, first of all, thank
Please.
you for invitation, and thank you very much for your efforts, personal efforts to stop killings and stop this war. Thank you. And using this opportunity, many thanks to your wife, First Lady of the United States. She sent a letter to Putin about our children, abducted children, and my wife, she, First Lady of Ukraine, she gave the letter. It's not to you, to your wife.
Oh, I want it.
Yeah. So we are saying this sensitive topic, yes, please. And thanks to our partners, and that you supported this format, that after our meeting we can have leaders who are around us, UK and France, Germany, Italy, Finland, EU, NATO, I mean all partners around Ukraine supporting us. Thanks to them, and thank you very much for invitation.
Thank you very much for being here.
President Trump.
Do you think it's fair?
Yes, Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. So, President Zelensky, you say in a post on X today, Russia must end this war, which it itself started. President Trump, you say President Zelensky of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to. Which is it?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we're going to have a meeting. I think if everything works out well today, we'll have a trilat. And I think there will be a reasonable chance of ending the war when we do that.
And is this the end of the road for American support for Ukraine? Is today's meeting deal or no deal?
I can never say that. It's never the end of the road. People are being killed, and we want to stop that. So I would not say it's the end of the road. No, I think we have a good chance of doing it. It's been almost 4 years now that a lot of people were killed last week. A lot of people last week. I mean, millions of people killed, but a lot of people last week for whatever reason. A big number, a lot of soldiers, on both sides. And I know the president, I know myself, and I believe Vladimir Putin wants to see it ended.
And as you met with Putin on Friday, today you've got President Zelensky here. As you listen to Russia and Ukraine, which side has the better cards?
Well, I don't want to say that. I'm just here to be, look, this isn't my war. This is Joe Biden's war. He's the one that had a lot to do with this happening, and we want to get it ended. And we want it to end good for everybody. We want it to end good. The people of Ukraine have suffered incredibly.
And to that point, President Zelensky, are you prepared to keep sending Ukrainian troops to their deaths for another couple years, or are you going to agree to redraw the maps?
Thank you for your question. So, first of all, we live under each day attacks. That today have been a lot of attacks and a lot of wounded people, and the child was dead, small one year and a half. So we need to stop this war, to stop Russia, and we need support, American and European partners, and we will do our best for this. So, and I think we show that we are strong people, and we supported the idea of the United States, personally of President Trump, to stop this war, to make a diplomatic way of finishing this war, and we are ready for trilateral, as President said. This is a good signal about trilateral. I think this is very good. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes. If the peace deal will be achieved, are you going to be willing to send American peacekeepers to Ukraine?
Well, we're going to work with Ukraine. We're going to work with everybody, and we're going to make sure that if there's peace, the peace is going to stay long term. This is very long term. We're not talking about a 2-year peace and then we end up in this mess again. We're going to make sure that everything's good. We'll work with Russia. We're going to work with Ukraine, and we're going to make sure it works. And I think if we can get to peace, it's going to work. I have no doubt about it.
Your team has talked about security guarantees. Could that involve U.S. troops? Would you roll that out in the future?
We'll let you know that maybe later today. We're meeting with 7 great leaders of great countries also, and we'll be talking about that. They'll all be involved, but there'll be a lot of there'll be a lot of help. When it comes to security, there's going to be a lot of help. It's going to be good. They are first line of defense because they're there. They're Europe. But we're going to help them out also. We'll be involved.
Vladimir Putin mentioned that the war will not end without addressing the root causes of this war. Have you had an understanding what are the root causes of this war?
Well, look, the war is going to end. When it ends, I can't tell you, but the war is going to end, and this gentleman wants it to end, and Vladimir Putin wants.
That, by the way, is probably the only question that is the most important one, even though no one's watching right now, is the root causes of the war and discussing the root causes and why this war happened in the first place. I'm not going to go over it right now because it's just way too much to go over. But when they're having these conversations and talking about these things in this manner, to not really go into what the root cause of the war was and why it was happening, and essentially just saying, well, you know, Russia is the aggressor. You know, tennis, for example, just to give you an idea, tennis players who are Russian, if they play in a tennis tournament like Wimbledon or US Open or any tournament for that matter, the Russian flag is removed from their names and is not allowed to be shown. So obviously an enemy has been picked by the rest of the world. You see everybody that's flying Ukrainian flags, not anymore because they realized, you know, these are the people who we all make fun of. It's the next biggest thing. You know, these people who, you know, take the shot, put the Ukrainian flag in there, and then all of a sudden they realize, oops, I probably shouldn't have done that, and then all of a sudden all that stuff is removed from their social media. So, again, great question from her. I don't know whether she meant it that way or not, but that is the question that people need to be talking about, the root cause of why this started in the first place.
At the end, I think the whole world is tired of it, and we're going to get it ended. It was, you know, I've done 6 wars. I've ended 6 wars, and I thought this maybe would be the easiest one, and it's not the easiest one. It's a tough one. A lot of reasons for it, and they'll be talking about it for a long time. But they'll be talking about the others. Look,
There are a lot of
India,
reasons for it.
Pakistan. We're talking about the big places. When you look at, you just take a look at some of these wars. You go to Africa and take a look at that. Rwanda and the Congo, Republic of the Congo. That's been going on for 31 years. And so we've done a total of 6, and we really have 6, not including the fact that we obliterated, and it turned out to be a total obliteration, the nuclear, as you said, the future nuclear capability of Iran. And this one, I think we're going to get solved also. I feel confident we're going to get it solved.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can you tell us about your conversations with European leaders and what they need to see to support an end to the war?
Yeah, well, we're going to be meeting with a great representative group and 7 very powerful, very big countries, and great people, all friends of mine and friends of yours. And we're going to have some suggestions made. They want to see peace. They would like to see peace.
President Trump,
In the red.
President Trump, do you think it's fair to, for Ukraine and for Russia to achieve a lasting and durable peace if Ukraine cedes its territories that Russia hasn't yet conquered? Do you think it's a fair peace for Ukraine?
We're going to have a lasting peace. Just to answer the first part of your question, we're going to have a lasting peace. I hope it's going to be immediately. I hope it doesn't have to go on. And I think people of the whole world is going to be very happy when that's announced.
Just a
President, you posted on social media, Mr. President, a very touching letter from the First Lady. And the letter was hand-delivered to President Putin. And it calls for an end to the war, essentially, because of the children and the children's future. Why did the First Lady feel that letter was necessary? Was it because she believes that Mr. Putin is the aggressor in the war? is a similar letter being hand-delivered to President Zelensky?
So the First Lady felt very strongly. She's watched the same thing that you watch and that I watch. I see things that you don't get to see, and it's horrible. But when she's got a great love of children, she has a wonderful son that she loves, probably more than anybody, including me. I hate to say it, but she loves her son. She loves children, and she hates to see something like this happening. And that goes for other wars too. I mean, she sees the heartbreak, the parents, the funerals that you see on television. Always funerals.
You know, this is, I mean, I think a lot of us have seen a lot of stuff. If you're on X, you see a lot of things. And this, he always says weird stuff. She loves her son more than me. Why that was necessary, I don't know. But they're seemingly, and I think more of the truth will come out after, you know, over longer periods of time. But there are people, essentially generations, that have been wiped out because of this. And the violence is just absolutely unbelievable, especially on the Ukrainian side. How many people, I mean, you see the videos, and there are confirmed videos of the Ukrainian army going out and kidnapping, you know, what I consider kids, probably 20s, 30-year-olds, so they can put them on the front lines because they're running out of soldiers. And they're taking older people and putting them on the front lines. Older women, I mean, they're just running out. I mean, this is just absolutely crazy what's happening. Yeah, White Rose knows. You know this is saying that. Well, I don't know if you were here earlier what I was saying. A reporter asked about the root cause of why this happened. So the Maidan coup, 2014, Victoria Nuland, you know, all of this stuff that started way back when, and the promise of NATO not expanding, et cetera, way too much to go into tonight. But let's talk about the root cause, about, you know, what all this stuff is. But this is, I mean, war is bad, obviously, it always has been, but, you know, this just makes you just sad when it comes to humanity as a whole, how bad this is and how many people have been killed.
Funerals. We want to see something other than funerals. No, she felt it was a beautiful letter. It was very well received by him. And she did ask me to say, you know, she would love to see this end. She would love to see it end, and she says it very openly, very proudly, and with great sorrow, because so many people have been killed.
Mr. President, last week,
Brian, go ahead, Brian.
Yes, sir. I've got a question for each of you.
Yes.
First of all, Mr. President Zelensky, you look fabulous in that suit.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, you look good.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, looks good on
I
you.
said to the one that attacked you last time. See, now I remember that.
Yeah, I apologize to you. You look wonderful. No, my first question for you, President Zelensky.
In the same suit. You see, I changed, you are not.
Maybe yours is much better. Real quickly, upon peace, God willing we get peace, are you open to holding an election in your country?
Yes, of course. We are open for election, yes. We have to do safety circumstances, and a little bit we need to work in the parliament, because during the war you can't have elections, but we can do security. We need, maybe, how to say, we need a truth, yes, everywhere, in the battlefield, in the sky, in the sea, yeah, to make possible for people to do democratic, open, legal.
Of course we need elections, but not we're not going to have it while we're during the war. So this is an answer, obviously, is no. You can have it right now, but they're not going to do that. So you can sit there and lie to you. And this guy, if you see the videos of this guy, those of you who don't know, this guy was an actor, and the things that he did on on TV. It's just embarrassing, and this guy's the leader of this nation now. And you know, once you see these videos of him and how he acted, it then makes sense why we're in the situation we're in.
Legal elections.
So you say
we're ready.
during the war you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now. So you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody, no more elections? Oh, that's good. I wonder what the fake
You like
news
this
is
idea?
Yeah.
No.
Speaking of news, I got a question for you. This sounds insane for me even to ask this, but do you think the American media really doesn't even want a peace deal? Because they've seen they've been so critical of you every step of the way as you lead the charge for peace.
It's an amazing phenomenon. I said that if in the settlement you got
No, because the media is funded by the military-industrial complex. And this is why they wanted Julian Assange gone, because he said exactly that. The whole purpose of all of these wars is to take the money out of the taxpayer's pocket and move it into the military-industrial complex pockets. That's what all this is about. That's why they want to continue this thing going. That's why Boris Johnson, when he had a long time ago had the opportunity to put an end to this and didn't do it. This just keeps the war machine going.
Moscow, St. Petersburg, and thousands of miles around them.
You can't make money in this world anymore unless you're taking money from the taxpayer. When it comes to solar energy, when it comes to wind farms, when it comes to Palantir, when it comes to any of these things, you name it. It comes from these people get rich off all of us, the middle class taxpayer. It's the only way they can get rich. They can't get rich doing anything else. It's government contracts. It's all from the taxpayers' pockets.
I would say I made a bad deal. The level of hatred and animosity is incredible. Not with all. I mean, we have great people up here. We also have terrible people up there that I think are told what to say. But, you know, in solving all of these wars, they don't even write about it. You know, I saw major wars. I saw wars that have been going on for 31, 35, and 37, and a couple of quicker ones. One that was going to go into a full-blown deal very quickly. You know what the one I'm talking about. It was a big one. But they don't even write about that. No matter what I do, no matter what, and you know, this is not anything to do with you. It's probably to your advantage in a certain way. But no matter what I do, no matter what deal I make, from my standpoint, you'll come out good. Maybe President Putin will come out good. But they'll say, Trump was absolutely horrible. It's just that, and I've lived with that for a long time. I've lived with it since just before the first election. I used to get great publicity. Now I get the worst publicity.
I think the opposite's happened. He had the worst publicity during his first term. And now, you can't. Anybody who has a half a brain can watch and see how now the press is completely different in how they treat him now. Because he was actually chosen this time by we know who. So the press is completely different now. And it just came down to who they want, who he's pleasing, and he's pleasing the right people. And as a result, he's getting much more fair treatment from the press than he did in the first term, obviously.
Never gotten in office, but I won in a landslide, so the people understand. They're the only ones that count, ultimately. But I've also had great reporters. I've had journalists that are very good. But it's very sad when you do the right thing. As an example, they said, because of the fact that Vladimir Putin came to American soil, this was a tremendous defeat for Donald Trump. No, it was really wonderful that he did it. It was a hard thing for him to do, to be honest with you. It was the opposite of what they said, but they said it. Now, if he didn't come, they'd say that was also bad for Trump. You know, there's no way. And there's just a great dishonesty of the press, and I think that's why it's lost its credibility. You know, its credibility is at an all-time low. We have a thing going on right now in D.C. We went from the most unsafe place anywhere to a place that now friends are calling me up, Democrats are calling me up, and they're saying, sir, I want to thank you. My wife and I went out to dinner last night for the first time in 4 years. And Washington, D.C. is safe. And you did that in 4 days. I'll tell you, it's safe. I had another friend of mine. He has a son who's a great golfer. He's on tour. And he came in fourth yesterday in the big tournament where Scotty Scheffler made the great shot. And he said his son is going to dinner in Washington, D.C. tonight. I said, would you have allowed that to happen a year ago? He said, no way, no way. He said, what you've done is incredible. And I think the people realize it. But the press says, he's a dictator, he's trying to take over. No, all I want is security for our people. But people that haven't gone out to dinner in Washington, D.C. in 2 years are going out to dinner. And the restaurants the last 2 days were busier than they've been in a long time. Thank
Sir,
you.
I walked around yesterday with MTG. If you can walk around with DC with MTG and not be attacked, the city is safe.
Yes.
Big dork.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last week, you warned of what you called severe consequences if a 30-day ceasefire or any type of ceasefire were not agreed to by Russia. Will there be severe consequences? Does that change because of
I
your
don't
meeting
think
with
you need a
President Putin?
ceasefire. You know, if you look at the 6 deals that I settled this year, they were all at war. I didn't do any ceasefires. And I know that it might be good to have, but I can also understand strategically why, well, you know, one country or the other wouldn't want it. You have a ceasefire and they rebuild and rebuild and rebuild, and, you know, maybe they don't want that. But if you look at the 6 deals that we made peace and you know, long-term, long-running wars, I didn't do any ceasefires. Would I like the concept, you know, I like the concept of a ceasefire for one reason, because you'd stop killing people immediately, as opposed to in 2 weeks or 1 week or whatever it takes. But we can work a deal where we're working on a peace deal while they're fighting. They have to fight. I wish they could stop. I'd like them to stop. But strategically, that could be a disadvantage for one side or the other. But all of these deals I made without even the mention of the words ceasefire.
President Zelensky, are
Can
you
you
disappointed that there's no
explain the
ceasefire?
decision to offer Ukraine Article 5-like security guarantees, but stop short of pushing for their full membership?
Yeah, well, we haven't done anything on that yet. If you look back and you go back long before President Putin, it was always a statement that they would never allow Ukraine into NATO. So that was a statement that was made, but we haven't discussed any of that yet. We're going to be discussing it today. But we will give them very good protection, very good security. That's part of it. And the people that are waiting for us, they are, I think they're very like-minded. They want to help out all.
So another, like we said before, when it comes to NATO, you know, the Russians were promised over and over and over again. And when they're talking about Article 5, it's, you know, an attack on one member is an attack on all. So it's essentially being a member of NATO. NATO should have been eliminated a long time ago. This was related to the protection against Russia after World War II. And to have this now and then, you know, continue to expand NATO to other nations all the way up to essentially the borders of Russia, this is one of the reasons why Russia said, hey, you know, we've had enough, along with the attacks in the Donbass region and everything else. So, you know, I don't understand why we keep pushing this, you know, but it's just remarkable to me how our you know, leaders, so-called leaders, can continue to push somebody around as a nuclear power. I'm not quite sure I understand why, but I think they're just nuts.
President, thank you, President Trump.
Are you disappointed there's no
The United
ceasefire,
States,
Mr. President?
the United States has already given hundreds of billions of dollars to this war effort in Ukraine.
Biden.
At best, it is a stalemate, and the killing continues. So, President Trump, how much more is the United States willing to give Ukraine? And President Zelensky, how much more do you want?
Well, I'll start off just by saying we're not giving anything now. We're selling weapons. This is something before, I guess the number is well over $300 billion. That was under Joe Biden, a corrupt politician, not a smart man, never was. By the way, go back 40 years, he was not a smart man 40 years ago either. But now he's in particular bad. This was done by a corrupt administration that shouldn't have been in, and frankly, if the right results of the election were given, if I were president, this war would have never taken place, and he would have been very happy because he would have liked to have seen. I mean, they went through hell. He went through hell. This war would have never happened, and the people that were killed, a couple of million people, a lot of people with soldiers and everything else, and the people that have been displaced and forced into other areas and other countries because of what's happened, none of that would have happened. And I'm just saying that he was a horrible president, whether it was the borders or this. He was just a horrible, corrupt president.
Mr. President,
You want to
I can. Thank you so much. So first of all, we have possibility now to buy weapon from the United States. We are thankful for this program. And
Yeah, all the money that's given by the taxpayers to Ukraine. I mean, how else are they getting money? Who are they getting money from to be able to buy the weapons?
this opportunity, we are thankful for Europe. They pay for this, and through NATO program, for example, Pearl and etc. We have some programs where we can have some money to finance this, and this is a part. I think it's not a part for the war and to defend us. It also will be a part for security guarantees, to strengthen our army, to rearm Ukrainian army. This is very, very important, and it depends how much money we need to rearm. For example, the question of air defense, we spoke about it with President Trump, and I'm happy that we have now bilateral decisions and we work on it with production, American production. Nobody in Europe has so many air defense like Patriots, for example. We need it very much, and this is also about defending.
I think the good news, we make the best military equipment in the world by far. You mentioned the Patriots. How good are they?
Systems.
We have systems, they're literally 100% foolproof. And it's really like shooting two bullets, two bullets hitting each other in the air in a space like this. The chance is 100%. It's 99 to 100%. So we sell the equipment to NATO. And NATO does what, I don't know what the arrangement is that you have with, but I know that they want you to have the equipment. And we're getting the best equipment in the world, but they pay us for the equipment. Under Biden, it was just crazy what was going on. I believe the number is over 300. I think it could be $350 billion worth of equipment and money and everything else. And we've made more progress in settling this war in the last 2 months than they made in 4 years. This should have been settled a long time ago, but it should have never happened. Yeah, please.
Real quickly, you pushed out on social media.
All right, Brian, go first.
You pushed out on social media about doing away with
White, are you talking about the assets that were seized by the United States, the bonds and assets and things in the U.S. that Russia owned that the U.S. seized? Is that what you're talking about?
mail-in ballots and potentially electronic voting machines. Can you expand on that and how important
Well, that's a very off-topic, just really quickly. Mail-in ballots are corrupt. Mail-in ballots, you can never have a real democracy with mail-in ballots. And we, as a Republican Party, are going to do everything possible that we get rid of mail-in ballots. We're going to start with an executive order that's being written right now by the best lawyers in the country to end mail-in ballots because they're corrupt. And you know that we're the only country in the world, I believe, I may be wrong, but just about the only country in the world that uses it because of what's happened. Massive fraud all over the place. The other thing we want change are the machines. For all of the money they spend, it's approximately 10 times more expensive than paper ballots. And paper ballots are very sophisticated with the watermark paper and everything else. We would get secure elections. We'd get much faster results. The machines, I mean, they say we're going to have the results in 2 weeks. With paper ballots, you have the results.
This is true with all machines, all computers, everything. They get hacked. How many hacks do we hear about every single week? Major hacks, people. I mean, everybody's information is on the dark web. I don't care who you are. Everything is hacked. All of these systems are hacked. All of these programs that have been created, websites and everything else that have your information, all hacked. So, yes, I mean, everything, not just mail-in ballots, everything needs to go back to analog. And only communications and things like that should be electronic, especially with the possibility of EMP attacks and things like that. I mean, things have to go back to paper in order for us to be safe again. And you know, obviously, this could kind of going off on a tangent. These elections as well have to be on paper.
That night, most people, but most people, many countries use paper ballots. It's the most secure form. So between paper ballots, very, very important, paper ballots, and I think maybe even more important, the mail-in voting. We're going to end mail-in voting. It's a fraud. If you have mail-in vote, even Jimmy Carter with this commission, they set it up. He said the one thing about mail-in voting, you will never have an honest election if you have mail-in. And it's time that the Republicans get tough and stop it, because the Democrats want it. It's the only way they can get elected. Because with men and women's sports and with transgender for everybody and open borders and all of the horrible things, and now the new thing is they love crime. They're fighting me on the fact that I've made Washington, D.C. safe. We're not going to get mugged, beaten up, or killed like all the people you've been watching get so badly hurt. I'm glad, I hate to take your time with this, but I'm glad you asked me that question.
Sorry.
We're going to stop mail-in ballots because it's corrupt. You know, when you go to a voting booth and you do it the right way and you go to a state that runs it properly, you go in, they even ask me, they asked me for my license plate, for identify. I said, I don't know if I have it. They said, sir, you have to have it. I was very impressed, actually. But it's very hard to cheat with mail-in voting. As you know what happens in California, it's so corrupt, where some people get 5, 6, 7 ballots delivered to them. Now, we got to...
California's giving away commercial driver's licenses. That's a story that I need to do, where another illegal immigrant driving a tractor trailer in Florida did a U-turn on a freeway, on a major highway, and killed 3 people as a result of it. Come to find out, it's a guy's illegal, didn't care he didn't care that he killed 3 people, had a commercial driver's license, got the commercial driver's license out of California.
Stop mail-in voting, and the Republicans have to lead the charge. The Democrats want it because they have horrible policy. If you have mail-in voting, you're not going to have many Democrats get elected. That's bigger than anything having to do with redistricting, believe me. And the Republicans have to get smart. We're not going to have a country. I said for a long time at rallies, you need borders.
Yeah, these reporters, you know, he should kind of scold them and say, look, you're going to stay on topic, but he can't help himself.
And you need free and fair elections. Those 2 things, otherwise you don't have. We have strong borders now. In 90 days, Mr. President, we didn't have 1, 0, 0, and 3 months. Not one person came in illegally into our country. In fact, even I find that hard to believe, but it's run by a little bit of a liberal group that put out the numbers, so I guess it's, but 0, 0, and 0. You go back a year ago, 2 years ago, 3, millions of people poured into our country. It was terrible. Thank you very much.
What security guarantees do you need from President Trump to be able to make a deal? Is it American troops, intelligence, equipment? What is it?
Everything. And really, it's...
Why, yes, I'm in the U.S. Where are you?
It includes 2 parts. First, strong Ukrainian army. That's what I began to discuss with your colleagues. And it's a lot about weapon and then people and training missions and intelligence. And second, we will discuss with our partners. It depends on the big countries, on the United States, on a lot of our friends.
And Mr. President, are you willing to commit American troops to that NATO-like protection in order to get President Zelensky to a deal today?
Well, I don't know if you define it that way, but NATO-like, I mean, we're going to give, we have people waiting in another room right now. They're all here from Europe, biggest people in Europe, and they want to give protection. They feel very strongly about it, and we'll help them out with that. I think it's very important. I think it's very important to get the deal done.
You've been involved with the peacekeeping in Ukraine since your first day in the administration. What would you say to the Ukrainian people right now who are suffering under the Russian attacks and hoping that the American people will stand with them?
Well, I know Ukrainian people. I've known many over the years. They're great people. They're smart. They're energetic. They love their country. I mean, they love their country, and we want to get this war ended. That's all I can do. I love the Ukrainian people, but I love all people. I love the Russian people. I love them all. I want to get the war stopped. Very important.
So you're Northwest? Yeah, I love the Northwest. It's Oregon, Washington. Love that area. It's beautiful out there if that's where you are.
Mr. President, was there any aspect of your discussion with Vladimir Putin that left you disappointed?
Look, we just spoke to, I was just telling the president, I just spoke to President Putin indirectly, and we're going to have a phone call right after these meetings today. And we may or may not have a trilat. If we don't have a trilat, then the fighting continues. And if we do, we have a good chance. I think if we have a trilat, there's a good chance of maybe ending it. But he's expecting my call when we're finished with this meeting. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, well, there you have it. We'll see what happens. The original meeting in Alaska wasn't that great. So after this meeting with Zelensky, I'm not so sure anything's going to happen. You know, they need to keep this war machine moving. But yeah, I mean, just this thing with NATO and all this stuff, it's like these guys, you know, they don't learn. But so we'll see. But that'll do it for tonight. White, thank you for your messages tonight. Thanks for watching, coming out, and everybody else that's out there and all the multiple streams we're in. Kick, Twitter, Twitch. Party. We're all over the place tonight, but thanks again for everybody that's watching. I will be back on again tomorrow night, and thinking about kind of changing up the stream a little bit, doing some different things. But thanks again, White. Thanks for the participation, and we'll see you hopefully tomorrow night. We're on the same time, 9 o'clock.